The trap component allows you to inflict damage on the player via any collider in the scene. It's a versatile component with lots of applications. The demo item in the project is a fire trap. I'm going to take the core components of this and apply it to a roving laser cannon. As with the other assets, it's set up with the regular virtual goods and room furniture components on the parent object. I drill down and find the trap component itself has two parameters: trap damage and trap interval. These define the amount of damage the player will take and how often for as long as the damage trigger is activated, in this case by a collider activator. There are 4 events: activate trap, deactivate trap, damage and kill. I'm going to duplicate the trap item and drag it over to child it to my laser here. I'm going to delete these particles and I'm going to add 2 additional events to the activate trap and deactivate trap events. The effects I am going to wire up are switching on the particle beam, switching on some audio and pausing the animation on the cannon. In theory, I could add those to the damage events here, but I can't switch them off again effectively doing that. So I'm going to add them all to the trap activate and trap deactivate events. So I'm going to drag my particles in. I'm going to add the particle emitter twice and set it to game object active and then particle system play. And on deactivate trap, I set it to game object inactive and particle stop. If I was only firing and stopping particles and not switching the game object on and off, I would end up with some still visible and inert particles in the laser beam when inactive after the first firing. I'm going to add an audio source and I'm going to add a laser beam looped audio file. I add this into the events and set it to play and stop. On the cannon itself, I have a looping animation that swings the cannon around. I'm going to reference that in the activate and deactivate events as well. And I'm going to set this to animator speed 0 on activate and 1 on deactivate. This means that when it hits you, it will stay locked on you until you get out of its way. Now I'm going to adjust the box collider that the trigger activator references to create a long, thin rectangle coming out of the cannon mouth. This will sweep around looking for players. I have one object reference which is a proximity activator, which isn't necessarily the same act as inflicting damage on the player. In the sample art, it switches on when you get near the damage collider and the particles swap from small to large flames on activation. I need the proximity activator referenced here on the trap, but I want my trap to be completely off unless it is doing damage. This is what allows me to use the activate and then deactivate trap functions for all my effects. So on the proximity activator, I'm going to set the activation distance to a minimum of 10,000. Now on the trigger activator, I'm going to add additional events for enter and exit. I'm going to drag the trap in and I'm going to call a second scripting runtime function. I'm going to call activate trap on enter and deactivate trap on exit. Now we can see in preview in the editor that when the laser swings round and the collider hits me, the animation pauses, the particles play and the audio plays, and when I get out of its way, it switches back to its default roving mode. All I need to do now is add the standard virtual goods script and furniture item components and upload it like any other spawnable item.